Well, hello everyone. Here to show you right here. I talk about for the doctors and nurses, on the front line, talking about whenever it comes to taking care of patients with COVID-related symptoms, and also giving shots to those at need, to people's arms. So it sure seems that way. A lot of times, it seems like that. Yeah, whenever we do talk about the COVID shots here, that you're thinking as to where if it's going to be Pfizer, or if it's going to be the Moderna or a J&J vaccines a lot of times. And you're thinking too as to where has anybody really explained about what it's like to see the light at the end of the tunnel right here. And so whenever I look at this image right here, it's going to remind me a lot of the fact about that, besides holding the American flag, it's going to remind me just a little bit of holding a water bottle. And so, like, let's just say that anybody that might even say that whenever you do whenever you do you receive the shot, that you also you feel relieved, right? And so that's what it seems like as to where like whenever we're talking about that whenever you do get the shot, that knowing about how much what the side effects are, and of course about how you feel whenever you do get the shot. And people might think is that well, a lot of times whenever you do get the shot, that you also feel like a lot of time you feel just a pinch, and then also that you also feel tiredness and relieved also. But then another way if you can look at it is toward that seeing the light at the end of the tunnel means is to where you feel relieved by healing. You have been cured from the infection, and like a filter, you feel as if the infection is being flushed out of your system. And you feel relaxed knowing that when you do get the shot, you think about a few relaxing breaths, and also to have enjoy some water. And so way I think about too, though, that whenever you do get the shot, that how many of us have really explained about what's it like whenever it comes to receiving the shot. And the thing is toward you're talking about the light at the end of the tunnel. And so to have right here is that whenever you think about that, is that whenever you think about is that you see the work. You notice when you do receive the shot. When you do receive, I'll say whenever you do receive the vaccine, it allows the ability to give your system, I'll just say, give your body the extra protection against against the disease. And so it sure seems that way that when we do speak about doing the type of studies like most doctors would say too, is when we do speak about shots a lot of times, and it's like, you go ahead and go by as toward it. What sorts of side effects are we talking about? Like, well, you might still experience headaches, and then also that if it's maybe going to be about you feel you feel you experience you feel tired. You feel tired, but then also you would also experience high high blood pressure, and maybe an upset stomach and diarrhea, and then also if it's anything such as like any other side effects that would also include such as maybe a little slight fever or something like that. But a lot of times anybody that might even say that when we do think about shots a lot of times into people's arms, that to where that they say is to where that well really it's supposed to give you a an extra source of protection, right? And so the way I think about it too, though, that each time we think about a shot, a lot of times that it's another way of saying is toward well, really that whenever you do get the shots, a lot of times it's supposed to give you protection, right? But a lot of everybody else might even say that you might experience some side effects, and then also you might you get a little sick. I'm like between before or after you got the shot, but still that. But look at this way toward it. When we do think about the shots a lot of times, that it's another way of staying is to where it's kind of like a mix to where that whenever you do get the shot, it's supposed to allow it to where that whenever you do receive the shot, and then let's say if you do wind up getting if you do wind up getting sick with a virus, or maybe if you do wind up becoming ill with something, and like I say, talk about for the recovery process. So to me, it's like that each time you think about it and you want to do the studies, though, talk about for how fast the recovery process is. The recovery process is up to the 10 times likely, more 10 times likely for those for those who are vaccinated. Compare that to the one to the unvaccinated. So it sure seems that way. That each time whenever I do read those news articles about between the vaccinated and the unvaccinated here, and you're thinking too is that well really that whenever you do read those those articles a lot of times and thinking as toward well really that a lot of everybody else would take the would get the shot if it's free, and maybe that for anything in particular, such as maybe there's prizes and everything that's going to be offered, right? But at the same time, it sure seems that way. That one thing that we can maybe think about is that when we do get the shot, though, is just knowing is that whenever you do receive the shot, that that to me it's just like having I'm like you would have a band-aid on, right? But still though that whenever you do receive the shot, a lot of times, like everybody else might say, is well, a lot of times it's like that whenever you do get the shot, that you feel relieved, and then also the light at the end of the tunnel. And so that's one thing that I want to talk about right here. Talk about for the light at the end of the tunnel right here. Means is that you feel relieved and then you feel healing, but then also you feel the cure from the infection, right? But let's just say that on average, though, that the light you notice is the light I describe as you feel light you feel lightweight and lightheaded, and you do feel the tiredness. So it's like, yeah, so each time we think about that, about, talk about the typical side effects, right? So it sure seems that way, that each time we think about the shots, and maybe if we're talking about is that whenever you do receive the shot, that it's another way of how do you want to call us, is that, yeah, well, really, that whenever you do receive the shot, that you're thinking is that, okay, yeah, well, whenever you do receive the shot, a lot of times that if you want to look at it as to where if it's just like taking a vitamin, or maybe if it's just like maybe what you call is like anybody else might say is to where that you're just like if you're going to be taking any source of medication, maybe if you do have any pre-existing conditions or anything like that. But really, that whenever you do take the first shot or even the second shot, that the one thing that I did notice was the fact about is to where that yeah, that the light at the end of the tunnel, to where that you feel lightheaded, and also that you also feel is toward it that your mind. I'm like, yeah, that you kind of your mind just feels a little swimmy there at first. So it's like, yeah, the swimmy mind. What do I mean by a swimmy mind? Yeah, a swimmy mind. What do I mean by a swimmy mind? What I mean by is that kind of like brain fog. Brain fog, to where that you have a harder time thinking and remembering during the first few seconds since receiving the shot. But at the same time, that you're thinking is that yeah, well, that, and then but then also that you feel like you're healing. You're healing slowly. So it sure seems that way, that every time we do think about the shot, a lot of times, and 102 is that that whenever you do receive any medication, or if you're slowly recovering, and it seems like that you come to those times to where that you feel like you have a lot of energy, and then you start getting tired, and then you start getting weak, and then you start getting your energy back. And so it's like a lot of times it seems like do you think a lot of that has to do with dehydration, and also about having certain meal times, and stuff like that. But the way I think about too, though, that when we do think about the shots, a lot of times, having shots into people's arms, and when I know about the recovery process, because I know, like everybody else would say, is that, yeah, well, really, another way of how you want to describe the light at the end of the tunnel, it's another way of how do you want to cause this toward it. Yeah, kind of like if you want to picture waving the American flag, is that whenever you're going to be waving it kind of slowly, and one know is that you just gradually feel your energy calming down, and then you start getting your strength back. And but still, it sure seems that way, that each time we do think about the medications and other sorts of science research, though, and for medications, and you're thinking is that yeah, well, really, that each time we think about antibiotics, and whenever we do think about medicine, though, and you're thinking is that, okay, yeah, well, really, if you were to do the studies about it, that why is it that maybe there are some medications that require you to take maybe 2 pills every 5 hours or so, and maybe 1 pill every 2 hours, and skip an hour and go to the next pill, something like that. So, like, you have a lot of these medications that you do wind up taking, and you're 102 is that that yeah, you take the medications and you take the medicine, and then on at the same time, it's like yeah, you're 102 that that you take a pill, but then you may wind up having to take two pills out of the 2 hours, or maybe after 5 hours, and go ahead and wait another hour before you take the next pill. And so it sure seems that way that like anybody else might even say that whenever it comes to taking medication, no, but really that a way of how you want to describe a shot, though, is another way of how you want to cause is that whenever it comes to maybe remembering to like yeah, if it's maybe going to be vitamins, and maybe if it is going to be maybe like an energy drink or something like that, but like everybody else might say that, oh no, actually getting the shot, like what you're probably thinking, getting this, it's like a kind of like a tetanus shot, but like anybody else would say that you would really only need to get a tetanus shot like every 8 years or so. But it's like nowadays what I hear about that is like it's like yeah, about every 6 months or so that you would need like yeah, for every 6 months to get yeah, every 6 months, every 6 to 8 months, every 6 to 8 months, that you would need to make sure that you are vaccinated, and that you're fully vaccinated, and at least to be tested. And that's why it sure seems that way that when we do think about the vaccines, like when we do think about the shots a lot of times, and always wondering how many of us have really described about what's the light. How do you describe the light at the end of the tunnel? Well, I kind of describe it as to where that your mind feels real, really swimming, and also that it's kind of like yeah, brain fog, the senior moments and all that, but still a lot of that, it only lasts for about, maybe if anything, maybe up to a couple of hours to 2 or 3 days or something like that. But I just really think too, in a lot of ways, that when we do think about the shot, and like I can tell everybody here that each time we do think about that, and I want to know too that about what the source of reactions are about the shot. And think it's like, yeah, what are the reactions about that? What are the reactions, about the shot? Well, most of the time, based on from what I experienced, though, is mainly about the fact about that whenever you do feel like, oh yeah, is that how do you know if knowing by after you receive the vaccine, though, that do you really feel like you experience any coughing, or maybe a headache, or any other sorts of side effects, maybe fever or nausea or something like that, protection, but for high blood pressure, but then also fever, fever, and then also another type of a symptom, a side effect, would maybe be about maybe body aches or something like that. But half the time you're thinking is that yeah, well, really, that whenever you do get the shot, it's supposed to give you protection, right? But like the doctors and nurses would even say too that yeah, well, really, that whenever you do get the shot, though, it's just like anybody says, to where it's just like another way of how you want to cause is to where you get the shot, and then you can go ahead and enjoy a bowl of soup. Yeah, a bowl of soup. A bowl of soup. A bowl. A bowl of soup, and it could really be any kind of soup, really. But let's just say if it's maybe beef, or if it's chicken noodle or something like that. A chicken noodle soup or something like that with some crackers. chicken noodle soup with crackers. So it's like, yeah. So each time we think about the type of stuff you call the common cold, though, and you're thinking is okay, yeah, well, really, that whenever we do think about recovery, the recovery process and everything. So you're thinking is too is that yeah, every time you think about the recovery, that a lot of times you're going to maybe thinking about okay, maybe a special treat or maybe a snack to go along with that or something like that. But it sure seems that way that every time we do think about about the COVID vaccines, though, that is to where to talk about that for you feel relieved by healing, and also that you how like yeah, you're going to also feel relaxed, and then but still that but when we're talking about talk about vaccines right here, but still that so it sure seems that way that each time we think about the signs and symptoms about it, the shots, though, and you're thinking too is that yeah, you want to go ahead and read the first or second paragraph to that person who's trying to get a better understanding about how is it what are the ingredients to the shot right there, and knowing how it exactly does that work like that. And so that's why it sure seems that way that whenever it comes to understanding about that, reading about the ingredients to the vaccines into the shot, right? And want to know too that yeah, well, really that a best way of how to describe the light at the end of the tunnel is another way of how you want to cause is to where that you're that you're kind of it's your mind and everything just kind of goes into like a dreamland, like a daydream type movement. Like in case of anybody that may say this, to where if you want to look at it that way, that light at the end of the tunnel is like to remembering is like like a like a daydream. Like a daydream, but like everybody else might even say that, well, really, that how is that really possible? Because there's a lot of things that you see whenever you do daydream that you normally don't see when we're talking about a light at the end of the tunnel. The type of a light that I'm talking about is the type of light to where that you see things that you just don't normally, like such as that you feel the room. You feel yourself kind of rocking side by side. You're rocking, and plus you feel like the room is kind of moving. Yeah, the room is moving, and so like everybody else might even say that the type of side effects that you would notice too after you get the shot is to where that the room is moving. So I know I hear that quite a bit too. That the room is moving. You feel it feels like the room is moving, and you actually feel dehydrated. I'm like yeah, you feel and then dehydrated. You feel dehydrated whenever you do to where you're needing a drink. Water, plenty of water, and then also have something to eat along with that. And so that's why it sure seems that way to anybody who might say that yeah, well, really that you're gonna go ahead and take your time getting the shot just because of the fact that yeah, well, you want to make sure that whenever you do get the shot, that you want to make sure that you're not already sick, and then and like anybody else might say that there are different source of medications that you tell, like yeah, if you are if you have been sick with the flu, and like they might the doctors would even say too that that they're going to ask you those questions, but wait at least I would say wait at least 2 weeks if you've been sick with the flu, or maybe if you have been sick, or maybe if you're if you're still recovering from surgery even, that give it at least 2 weeks before you go ahead and get to this shot here, because I know that the CDC would probably even say that that yeah, give your body enough time to recover, to recover from the healing process. So most of the time, though, it's like yeah. So that's usually a lot of those medical papers would probably say to give it at least 2 weeks, and if anything, maybe they might say is it still okay between 10 weeks to maybe or 10 days, 2 weeks to up to 10 days. So people might even say that okay, yeah, between 2 weeks and maybe 10 days even. So let's just say that yeah, wait 10 days and see how you feel, and then yeah, you can wait 10 days before you can go back up there and get the shot. But still, that they're gonna say is toward that how are you feeling today? Yeah, okay. Well, before I can give you the shot here, we want to make sure that you're feeling all right, and then that you're not experiencing any of the symptoms, and also that if making sure, because I know, and I know a lot of ladies would say that usually I'm like yeah, if you're maybe if you're pregnant, or maybe if you are experiencing any of the following symptoms or anything like that, such as I'm like yeah, if it's high blood pressure or anything like that. But still, but whenever we do describe a shot, a lot of times that do we necessarily think about that to where like anything such as maybe a vitamin or a bowl of soup or something like that. But at the time, you're thinking too is that really, I don't know. I keep thinking if that's spelt with an A or something like that. I'm like a bowl of soup or something. I'm like yeah, or a cup of soup or something like. I'm like yeah, cup of soup. However that you like to have it served or something, but still that. But anyway, but it sure seems that way that when we speak about soup, and maybe before we talk about maybe noodles or something like that, Nutri-Grain bar or something. But the way I think about though that talking about with the light at the end of the tunnel right here is that the light is described as toward that you feel, that you feel like you feel light weighted, and talk about for light headed, and then you do feel a lot of tiredness and my swimming mind and then brain fog, and then you have a hard time thinking. And another thing that I want to mention right here is that you is that whenever you do think though, do you think it takes a few seconds just for your mind to clear. I'm like yeah, or to refresh. I mean, I can maybe say refresh too, but just to refresh before you start feeling more normal. So it sure seems that way that each time that whenever we do think about talk about the CDC and everything, but really that say anybody say that yeah, well, if anything, it'll be a while before we do see anything at normal, really. But on the other hand, I want to know that whenever it comes to understanding about the CDC and everything, and then talk about for the COVID shots right here, and I think is toward yeah, well, really that the purpose about a lot of about a lot of studies about that would be is that hey, that whenever you do receive the shot, a lot of times that what you really are doing is like yeah, the source of attention that you get, the source of attention you receive. The source of attention that you usually receive from the doctors and from the nurses, right? And a lot of times it's like, yeah, usually it's about the fact about that, yeah, if it's maybe going to be maybe a special treat, or maybe that you're able to, yeah, like how many of us will maybe even say too that if you're going to be maybe visiting the doctor or maybe talking to the nurses, and maybe let's just say that if they do maybe give you a free quilt, a free quilt, a quilt, or maybe a pillow or something like that, a pillow to lay on or something like that, a quilt or a pillow, quilt, or any sorts of a certain style blanket, a warm blanket that you can snuggle up with. And I want to know too that yeah, well, really, that whenever you do lay down and rest a lot of times, and like everybody else might say that a lot of that stuff that you normally would maybe even think that, okay, yeah, well, it's supposed to be my special blanket just because that yeah, it's a recovery process to where that whenever you lay down with that blanket and with that pillow, though, it's supposed to give you support, neck support, and then of course support for your head. And so it's like whenever you do lay down and rest, and while you're resting, after you do receive the vaccine, and of course after you receive medical treatment, that you're thinking too is that yeah, want to know about what the feelings like as toward that, for how soft, and maybe about what the recovery process was like. Is that yeah, well, if you feel, if you do feel comfortable enough, and then for sure that you might even think too that thinking as toward that go by the typical daydream, and like say that you're remembering during the first few seconds after receiving the shot, you're feeling the healing slowly. And say that yeah, well, healing slowly to where that yeah, you feel just a little pinch, but then at the after a few seconds, and then you just slowly start gradually feeling feeling the healing. And so the way I think about too, though, to talk about for the healing slowly, and that's why it sure seems that way, that talk about for healing would mean that you have more protection given for your body. So yeah, so it's like for your body, and I can also put on here that I talk about that with that, like a other than a vitamin. Other than a vitamin, that whenever you do take a vitamin, it's supposed to give you like your vitamin C and vitamin A. It's supposed to it's supposed to improve the ability, for your mind thinking, and anything else, any other nutrients, that you'll need as well. But the way I think about it too, though, that each time we think about side effects, though, that like everybody else might say that yeah, when we speak about side effects, we're also talking about is that the stuff that we really don't look forward to a lot of times whenever we're gradually recovering. Like like a lot of doctors would say too, that yeah, you just let it run its course, and then it'll go away in a couple of days or so. Yeah, run its course. So it sure seems that way, that and I know that doctors are not necessarily saying it that way, but let's just say though that they say is to where that yeah, let it run its course, to where a lot of those symptoms would maybe last for up to 4 to 5 days or so. If it's cold related symptoms, or if it's anything, maybe a sinus flu related symptoms or something like that. But a lot of times it seems like that yeah, well, really, that if it doesn't go away within the first 4 days or maybe even 5 days, and then knowing about what sorts of medications that the doctor would prescribe to you, right? And so that's why it sure seems that way. That each time we do think about a lot of this medical stuff, though, and I want to know is that yeah, well, really that if it's going to be like anybody would say is to where that it goes by the measure to where if it's between 5 or maybe 10 being the worst, and then maybe the to where that 1 and 2 will be what you calls like yeah, will be as the not so severe level to maybe that if it's what you call that you just to be on the lookout for that or something like that. But the way I think about too, though, that each time we do think about the shot a lot of times, and you're one to know too that yeah, well, really that each time you do think about the shot, that you're thinking is that yeah, well, really that normally though, yeah, even if it is screening though, if it's blood test or if it's screening, that you feel a pinch a lot, you feel just a small pinch, and then like say, yeah, up to within about maybe 15-20 seconds, and then the shot is over with, and then you'll be able to go ahead and enjoy like yeah, but still, whenever you do get the shot, a lot of times, like everybody else would say, that you don't really enjoy the rest of your day, but you just really want to think about that whenever you do receive the shot, a lot of times, is that other than like what you call that, like everybody else might say, that other than having other than wearing braces or anything like that, that you really feel just a little bit of the after effect about the shot is that yeah, whenever you do receive the shot, that you feel tiredness, and then also that you might feel hungry, and then you might experience some other side effects, but still for slowly recovering in the process, the healing process, right? But anyway, thanks for watching, everyone, and have a great day.